Have you ever had trouble playing Pokémon Unite? Perhaps you are a new player and are trying to learn the skills to rank high in the game. Maybe you have been playing for a while and just want a refresher. It could also be that you have been playing for a while with no clue what you are doing, maybe even managed to stumble your way to Master Rank. It's okay, it happens. Whatever the case is, these set of videos are here to help build the foundations you need to become a productive player in Pokémon Unite. Welcome to Pokémon Unite Basics. Today's topic, we're going to talk about Pokemon and Pokemon types. Now, unlike most Pokemon games, Pokemon Unite does not use elemental types and type advantages. However, Pokemon Unite is a MOBA, and MOBAs have different types of characters. You generally have your tanky characters, your damage dealers, your spellcasters, your support healers, and your assassin characters. And Pokemon Unite is no different. However, the names are different, the roles are generally the same. And starting off, I want to start with the attackers. Now, attackers in most MOBAs are generally split into your ADC, or attack damage carry, or carry for short, and your AP mages, the ability power mages, or mage. And Pokemon Unite's no different. For example, you have Cinderace, who generally fits the role of an attack damage carry. She uses attack as her main stats, and so that is what you will focus with her. And then you have mages, much like Gardevoir and Sylveon, who use special attack as their main stats. Pokemon Unite also has a handful of Pokemon who don't scale well with any of those stats, like Venusaur and Pikachu, even though when you go to them, they will say special attack. Generally, with those Pokemon, you're going to want to build a little off. For Venusaur, it's very popular to build him kind of tanky. But starting off with the list, you have your Cinderace, and your carries, which currently right now, this is pre-Decidueye, Cinderace and Greninja are your carries. They are going to be doing the most damage with auto attacks, and their skills generally just help them preform their auto attacks. I don't want to get too much into the characters, but roughly you want at the very least, a Cinderace or a Greninja on your team. As for the AP characters, the only good AP character right now, and I haven't tested Ninetales out since the buff, which was accidentally a nerf, and then they fixed the buff. But Sylveon is going to be your best choice. Gardevoir, sadly, would be, but she scales way too late into the game. By the time she becomes effective, the game is almost already over, and you're probably already behind. So if you're going for an AP mage character, go with Sylveon. You don't necessarily need it on your team, but it is a good choice. Venusaur and Pikachu are unique because they don't scale well. However, they do have very unique kits. Venusaur can be very tanky by healing and just speeding around the map, or you can build him to snipe objectives out with Solar Beam. And Pikachu, Electro Ball is fun and it will set you ahead early game, but it falls out late game. And Thunder is rather hard to hit, but very satisfying when you do. So, like I said, I'm not going to get too much into your characters there, but generally on your team, you want an attacker, and specifically you want a carry, a Cinderace, or a Greninja. Everybody else, Venusaur, Pikachu, Ninetales, Cramorant, Sylveon, please don't pick Gardevoir. But if you do pick Gardevoir, make sure your roster is already filled before you start picking these characters. Next up on the list, I want to talk about your defenders, your tankier characters. Now, in my opinion, a defender's job is to peel and disrupt. Now, what peel means is when your opponents start jumping in on your heavy attackers, like your Cinderace or your Greninja, they are going to die easily. So a defender's job is to get in there and start dealing the damage, start slowing that enemy down, saving your carries. Now, honestly, in my opinion, there's no real bad defenders. There's just great defenders and not as good defenders. Now, the defenders you're going to want to pick for peel and disruption are going to be Snorlax, Slowbro, and Blastoise. I would say Mamoswine, but his kit, both his Earth moves, High Horsepower, and Earthquake, they're a tad clunky. They're a little bit slow and they just feel awkward to use. So if you can, I would avoid using him. Snorlax is great. His Heavy Slam does wonders with knocking enemies up and stunning them for a moment, and block can get super annoying. Blastoise's ability to push your enemies off of whatever they're trying to get to with Surf, or even slowing them down with Water Spout, excellent choice. You can't go wrong with either build with Blastoise. Slowbro is much the same, with Surf being able to stun enemies off of objectives or off of your carry, and Telekinesis just holding an enemy down for your carry to wipe out. Go with one of these three. Avoid Mamoswine, and the caveat to that is Greedent and Crustle. They are tanky Pokemon and they are hard to kill. However, they don't act like the other ones. They're not there to peel and disrupt the enemy. They are there to split push a lane. They have moves that allow them to move fast while unstoppable, and with bulky shields, they're able to just gather points and dunk them on enemy goals and get away unscathed. They are an annoyance to deal with, and when you're going up against them, it's generally not worth it to even chase after them. Much like the attackers, you're going to want at least one defender on your team. Two, and you're starting to risk not having enough damage. No more than two. I prefer playing a more peel and disrupt play side, but I have seen split lanes with Greedent and Crustle works so well. I'll get more into that one in a later video. But for the next role I want to talk about is the supporter class, which their jobs in MOBAs are generally to buff allies, debuff the enemy, and occasionally provide heals. Now, that being said, the only real supporters, in my opinion, are Eldegoss and Blissey. They're the only ones that provide buffs to your team, and in Eldegoss' case, some debuffs to the enemies. And they are also the only Pokemon that provides heals to your teams. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Oh, Wigglytuff's ult provides a buff for your team. Yes, but you don't want to rely on your ult to be your sole support-focused attack. And same goes for Mr. Mime with his ult, being able to prevent the opponents from using their skills. They are, however, great additions, but if you ask me, they're more CC focused or crowd control focused. In Wigglytuff's case, she acts more like a tank, like a defender more than anything, and Mr. Mime acts more like a CC mage, kind of like Cramorant and Ninetales. So, in my opinion, I would like to have... Honestly, you can't go bad with either one of these four, even though I just kind of talk trash on Wigglytuff and Mr. Mime. Doing them a little bit disrespect there, but they definitely earn their respect. I would definitely want one of these on the team and no more than one of them. But I have seen plenty of people go without a supporter and do wonderful. So if you're keeping tabs, you're going to want to have one carry, and right now that's either Cinderace or Greninja. You're going to want one defender and 0 to 1 supporters. Moving on to speedsters now. Now, in most MOBAs, speedsters fill the assassin roles, and the assassin roles generally go into jungle. Now, I'm not going to go over the lanes in this video, but I want to say that for the most part, yes, these characters fit the assassin roles, and what an assassin role does is they sneak up and jump in on the enemy, deal a bunch of damage, if not getting a kill, and then they jump out. Now, the best ones to pick from here, in my opinion, Talonflame and Zeraora. Their kits are just so powerful. Once you get Fly or Brave Bird with Talonflame, you are just jumping in and jumping out, dealing a mass ton of damage and annoying enemies. Depending on which one you choose is going to change up your playstyle, and once again, I'm not going to get into the specifics on Pokemon, but Talonflame, perfect choice for a speedster. Zeraora, you hit level 8 and you get Discharge and you're good to go. Zeraora doesn't even need his ult. Now, his ult is great, but Discharge is where it's going to be at. And his ability to use Volt Switch or Spark to just jump into a battle, use Discharge, deal a ton of damage while building a shield, and then getting out to safety, it's what you want in an assassin-like character. Now, Absol is the quintessential assassin character. If you are going up against an Absol and it is one-on-one, Absol is probably going to kill you. Absol early game will carry your team up until the mid to late game, and hopefully the rest of your team can pick up the slack from there. Now Absol starts falling off mid to late game because Absol just doesn't have the kit to do multi-target damage or to just survive in a team fight. So you can jump in on one target and possibly burst them down, but you're going to trade one for one because the rest of your opponent's team is going to turn on you and you're going to melt just as fast as you melted their one target. Now, Gengar is... I'm going to be honest with you right now. Gengar is not a good assassin. Now, like I said with assassins, your job is to get in and get out. Gengar's kit allows him to get into battle very well. Just as well as everybody else, if not better. He can deal just as much damage, arguably sometimes more, than everybody else. The issue with Gengar is he has no way to get out of combat. And so once he jumps in on an enemy and he bursts them down, if he does not kill that enemy or they have teammates, Gengar is going to die right away. That's early game, that's mid game, that's late game. He has no out. He is an in and get melted. He's basically he should have been Voltorb and Electrode, because his job is just to go in and blow up and sacrifice himself. So until they fix his kit or do something to make him survive a little bit longer in battle, avoid him at all cost. Choose Absol if you want to have a little bit of fun, but if you're going for your wins, Talonflame or Zeraora. Now, the last role we're going to talk about is your all-rounders. Now, in your general MOBA, all-rounders are your bruiser characters, your melee damage dealers. They don't deal quite as much steady damage as your attackers, your carries and your mages, but they do a respectable amount of damage, and they don't have quite as much tankiness as a defender, but they still can survive in a battle long enough to deal that damage, and if not, also come with some form of disruption. Now, the caveat to that is Charizard is not necessarily a melee damage dealer. Now, when you go to him, he is attack focused, so it is good to build him with attack items, which we will get into on another video. But because he uses his fire breath, he's kind of more of a close to mid-range character. And it's pretty unique. He's not the best out there, but he is definitely far from the worst all-rounder. Same goes for Machamp. Machamp, definitely a melee bruiser, and he has a good kit, and he almost acts kind of like a speedster, an assassin. He has great abilities to get in and focus one target. However, he doesn't have any outs, but once again, he does have that general survivability to just stay in the fight a little bit longer than speedsters. He doesn't need to get out. The issue with Machamp is that until you become Machamp, you kind of get bullied in lane. Your kit isn't really designed to lane very well, unless you're paired up with somebody else who can provide. Honestly, early in the game, support not too important. You need somebody in lane that can do damage, just to help Machamp get to where he needs to be. Garchomp, one of the coolest looking Pokemon, in my opinion. So sad he's not that good. The issue with him is he does a good amount of damage, and the way his kit is set up is he can tear through objectives. He would be one of the best Pokemon in the game, but he has a slower start than Gardevoir and Machamp. And because he's so melee focused and his ability takes a while to ramp up, he gets kited. If you are going up against anybody with any bit of mobility or ranged attacks, the optimal solution to them is just to keep Garchomp at a distance and just poke out on the kite. If not, honestly, like if you see a Gibble or a Gabite coming at you, the optimal solution is probably just to walk away. I mean, he's not that much of a threat unless you actually jump in on him. So just don't jump in on him. And then you have the golden boy, Lucario. He has been nerfed several times. However, it seems like with each nerf, they also just slightly buff one other aspect to him. He has remained playable, and not only playable, but top tier since the release of Pokémon Unite. His kit does everything. He has a shield in case he ever gets low on health. He has dashes for quick engage and disengage. He does a lot of damage. He has high defense. And once again, even with that shield or without it, you go power up punch, and it's a great execute. You do extreme speed, and you're just gonna do a massive amount of damage in team fights. Close combat, suboptimal, but still really good. It can tear through an objective or a team fight pretty well, as long as nobody jumps out of the way. And then you have Bone Rush. Bone Rush is it's another dash that provides more damage, and in some cases provides a cooldown for your power-up punch. You cannot go wrong with Lucario, and I would love to say that on your team you would want at least one all-rounder. But on your team, you're going to want at least one Lucario. So those are the basics. Let's go over what we want again. You're going to want one carry, being either Cinderace or Greninja. You're going to want one defender, being either any of the defenders are a good choice. Just avoid Mamoswine. He's not a terrible choice, but he's not a good choice. And Crustal and Greedent, they have a different playstyle than the other four. But all around, you can't go bad with at least one defender. Have a support on your team if you want, but it's not necessarily needed. And the same goes for speedsters. You don't necessarily need a speedster on your team. However, if you're going to choose one, either Talonflame or Zeraora. And lastly, most importantly, until he gets nerfed into the ground and it becomes unusable, you need at least one Lucario. And that's it, honestly. next episode, I think I'm going to talk about the held items and the battle items. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, smell you later, trainers.